we understand why people do what they do, what drives their behavior, what holds them back. And that's really what you need to work with when you have a clients of any sort. You need to understand their behavior. You need to understand what they think, how do they feel, and how you can work with it to, for example, drive your sales or conversions or basically do anything that you want them to do. So yeah, we are expert in that in consumer psychology, and we use this knowledge to help companies to drive more sales, drive more conversions, just simply to be more persuasive.
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the Agents of Change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Change podcast. This is the podcast that's all about helping you reach and engage more of your ideal customers online. My name is Rich Brooks, and this is episode 523, powered by the Agents of Change Digital Marketing Summit. I may have mentioned this before, but I become a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger's email newsletter. It comes out every weekday, and it's filled with research-backed information with a healthy dose of positivity. It covers fitness, what to eat, how to get better sleep, how to improve your health and well-being, and it's got some great workouts that I've been using at the gym. One of the recent newsletters talked about habits and how long it can take to form them. According to some recent research, it turns out that there's a big range when it comes to how long it takes different people to create habits. And one of the biggest variables is how easy is the change you seek? How many steps does it take to create this new habit, such as going to the gym or getting enough sleep or blogging? Which dovetails nicely into today's interview, because we're going to be talking about perceived effort and how to frame things to our customers and prospects so they feel that that is easier and more attainable. Speaking about easy, let's chat for a moment about your decision on whether to pre-register for the Agents of Change Digital Marketing Summit. This is our first ever virtual event taking place on April 24th through 26th, 2024. 3 days, 30 speakers, unlimited growth. We're going to be covering topics like SEO, AI, Facebook ads, neuromarketing, website conversion rate, analytics, and everything you need to grow your business. The cost for pre-registering for the event? Nothing. It's free. All you need is a name and an email, and I'm guessing you have both. Oh, and 30 seconds at theagentsofchange.com website. Just hit the pre-register button in the top right corner, drop in those two other items I mentioned, name and email, and you're done. Probably less than 30 seconds now that I think about it. How about the cost of the event itself when we open the doors? Is that what you're wondering? Well, that's also free. You can attend all 30 sessions put on by today's top marketing minds at absolutely no cost. Now, if you want some extras, recordings, transcripts, cheat sheets, audio downloads so you can listen on your commute, digital courses, and more, well, we'll have some paid package that will cover all of those things and a whole lot more. And the reason you want to pre-register is because we'll be having some specials, bonuses, giveaways, and discounts on the paid upgrades only available on the first day and some only available that first week. And if you pre-register, we'll give you the heads up you need so you can get those bonuses. Don't wait, don't miss out, and don't be plagued with FOMO. I'm trying to help you out. Head on over right now to theagentsofchange.com and pre-register. Less than 30 seconds, and you'll thank me later. Okay, and with that, let's see how else we can get customers and prospects to take action through some very ethical mind hacks. My guest today is a senior behavioral consultant and copywriter at MindWorks. He has a PhD in experimental psychology and almost ended up being a scientist. However, he realized that he much prefers a more agile environment and now specializes in applying the latest insights of consumer psychology to business, helping his clients to grow. His role is to create a simple, easy to grasp, yet persuasive communication that appeals to customers' subconscious heuristics. Today, we're going to be diving into the psychology of perceived effort and how to make things easier on your prospects so that you can generate more leads online with Roman Burič. Roman, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. I discovered you when I read a recent email from MindWorks, your company,
Mhm.
entitled The Make or Break Factor for Customer Engagement. And as it turned out, that factor was perceived effort. So before we jump in, can you explain what perceived effort is?
Oh, absolutely. Perceived effort, you can imagine that like how hard it feels to do something, not how hard it objectively is, but how hard it feels for customers or for anybody.
And so the goal is to reduce that perception that there's a
Yeah,
lot of work to be done to make sure
yeah,
that they
yeah,
move forward.
yeah. Because you usually want people to do something when you're in business, right? You want your customers to do something, to register, to buy, or do anything. But in order to do that, they need to perceive it as easy to do. And that, as actual research shows, is much more important than the like objective effort, the friction. The friction is important as well, how hard it really is, but the way more important factor is how hard it feels for the customers.
Awesome. Now, in the email, you reference the never ending blocks of unstructured text as a stumbling block for getting site visitors or email subscribers to take action. And we've all faced that wall of words that you can't even start to read because there's just too many of them. What are some of the common things that you see business doing wrong when it comes to their site and perceived effort?
Oh, there's too many things to go through them, but one of the most important one is really hard to navigate. So you put a good example with the unstructured text. When you read something, whether it's email or web page, the customers to see that okay, this is like really easy to navigate. It won't take too much effort because we are like creature of habits and we really don't like spending too much time and effort or something on something. It's because of the evolution. We are really trying to preserve energy. We don't like hard work. So yeah, when we are on some page, on our web page, it needs to really be like clear what we want to tell the customer, what we want him to do, and stuff like that. So yeah, one of the most important thing is for the site to be easy to navigate and to be really clear what we want the customer to do.
What are some of the things that would make the navigation more difficult or more easy to help that customer along with their own customer journey?
Well, I would say there could be plenty of things. Like uh, we can start with basics. Well, let's say you are sending your customer like direct emails. One of the most crucial things is how hard is the information you are putting out to process. For example, you doesn't happen too often, but it might be the case that you just use the like hard to process font, some fancy font, and it's just really hard to process. And people constantly can evaluate it as hard to read, and they just won't do it. That's just one thing. Another one is your communication might be just way too long. So because how long the text is, so whether it's an email or website, is like the key element for us to evaluate how hard it will be to go through. Yeah, because we don't like spend energy, spend time, and if it's too long, we just won't go through it because we think it's like too much work, too much time. There's plenty of other things. Like for example, companies often use some online funnels, right? If you want people to register or to buy something, there's always like online funnel, which consists of a couple of steps you need to go through. And these are like usually not that easy to go through as well, and it also feels too hard. What you need to do, for example, is to clearly chunk the process into like multiple smaller steps, because again, we very quickly evaluate when there's too many steps, it will be hard to do. I won't do it. So yeah, that's another one. Also, you need to use a clear language, right? Because when I read the first sentence that you use, and I will see, okay, these are like really hard to understand words, some corporate bureaucratic official words, statements, which like evokes that it will be hard to do. I mean, like complicated words or words like you have to, you are required to. Well, then I will again evaluate very quickly. Then this will be hard to do, and I just want to read the rest. So yeah, these are like basic mistakes people often do, companies often do.
All right, those are some good examples. So one of them that you mentioned, like through any online funnel, there may be too many steps or it feels too big. So what are some of the things that you advise your clients to do to make it feel like it's easier?
Oh yeah. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we advise like all the time. First one is you need to structure your instructions, yeah, right? Because one thing is, okay, let's stick with the email communication. You're sending your clients an email and you want them to do something. Well, okay, the first thing is that the client needs to go through email. Let's say they do that, and ideally there's a call to action that leads to the funnel. And what you need to do is instruct them very clearly and put the structure into your instruction. Like, for example, in order to register, you need to follow these three easy steps, and then you name step one, step two, step three, and you're done. Ideally, you also need to tell clients how long it will take them, because there's a very direct estimate of how much time it will take me. If you tell me, for example, it won't take you longer than 5 minutes, no problem. Everybody have 5 minutes; they can do it. But if they don't know how long it will be, how long it will take them, it can really drive them away. Then when often the funnel is like pretty complicated and you need to go through a lot of input fields and fill a lot of information. So yeah, what you need to do is to chunk the online funnel, the online process, for example, of the registration, to multiple smaller steps. Right? It could be like you can do that artificially. It doesn't need to make that much sense why something is divided into categories, but it needs to be like maybe a little bit of more steps. But if you divide it into more steps, they're usually like smaller instead of one giant like online form or something like that. So let's say instead of one giant form, I have like five easy steps. Okay, if every one of these steps like include 3 or 4 questions, I can do that. It's not that hard. Another thing is, okay, so when we did that, yeah, we have a like 5 step process, 5 step online funnel. It's always a good thing to show the progress. You are in the first step out of five, or you're in the second step out of five. So the customer always see how much work they already done, and how much effort they need to, how much effort is required. Yeah.
That's really
So
interesting because I've read before that sometimes once people have started a process, they've
mhm.
committed to it, they don't like to stop that process because they don't want to lose the work that they've already done. Even if they're in step 2 of 10. I even remember reading something in a book where they talked about they got better results when they gave people a punch card for like frequent lunches and they punched the first 2 of 12 versus giving somebody a brand new card of 10. They still had to buy the same amount of sandwiches, but suddenly they were invested with it. So I can see there being a benefit from that aspect as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. When we put some effort into something, we don't want to stop, because we already put some effort in it, so we would like to finish it. And yeah, I also read about the example, and it really works. It's like a little thing, but it works. So that's why we need to show the progress. If you are in the third steps out of five, and you see how many information you already filled, you will be much more likely to finish the process. So yeah, and then perceived effort, yeah, it's not the only thing that's important. And this progress bar it shows you how much effort you already put into this. And this is another cognitive bias. It's called like IKEA effect, and that if you're participating on something, you value it much more. So if you put some effort into something, you will much more likely to finish the process.
Oh, that's very interesting as well. It's funny. It reminds me just the other day, I had to log into my bank's website. And before I could get to any of my accounts, it showed me something that says, you're only one step away from accomplishing X, Y, or Z. And I was
Mhm.
like just about to click on it when I realized I actually hadn't taken anything. And I thought that was such a brilliant piece of marketing because it's like, it looks like I'm 80% of the way there, but I realized before I clicked on it that I actually hadn't done anything. I thought that was some very clever subterfuge on their part to get me to download their app or whatever it was that they wanted me to do.
Yeah, and what they did, they used words that evoke that it is easy to do. As I mentioned, you don't want to use words like "it is required," "you need to something." But when you use words such "one more step," all you need to do is that it really evokes that it won't be that hard to do, and it won't take you that much time. So you're much more likely to do it.
You talked a little bit about using clear language, and then I think you kind
Mhm.
of clarified with this that there's almost these words that we can use, magic words, if you will, that will lower that perceived effort. What are some of the words that we can use to get people to move forward through perhaps a series of steps that they might not otherwise want to complete? How do we sell them
Uh,
on that?
Yeah, well, to be clear, these are not like some magic beans, but yeah,
Right.
the good wording is always important. And what you want to do, yeah, you want to use words like three easy steps, or as I mentioned, it won't take you much long. It won't take you longer than some period of time, like 2 or 3 minutes. All you need to do is this. Like there are many words that you can use that evokes like easiness, like ease of the process.
One of the things that almost every website has is a form. And you've kind of talked a little bit
Mhm.
about this, but there are times when we just need to get a certain amount of information from a client or from a prospect, and it may be more than they feel is worth the effort. You talked about chunking. Are there any other
Mhm.
tactics that we can use on those forms to make it feel easier for people to get them to fill out the form more simply?
Oh yeah. Well, we are talking about perceived effort, right? So you need to feel easy. But well, one thing to make it feel easy, as easy to do, is to actually make it shorter. What I encountered many times was that some information that you want from clients can be pre-filled by default. For example, because you usually already have some information when it's your existing client, for example, so you can pre-fill the information for him to save them some work, some effort. You actually can also happen often is that you can there are like 2, 3, or 4 questions that ask for a really very similar thing. So you can just make it really shorter and delete some questions. You won't lose that much data. If you do that, if you just scratch some questions, if you pre-fill them, if you actually make it shorter, and if you chunk it into multiple steps, you can make it like much more easier to go through and actually shorter.
I had an experience, Roman, years ago where I took the contact form on our website and actually put it down at the bottom of all of our service pages and really just asked for like name, email, and phone number. And I saw a dramatic increase in the number of people who filled out that contact form because it was so easy. But then I realized I had made it too easy. And so people were filling out the form that really weren't good fits for us. And so, like you said, I actually added a second stage. So after they filled that out, it took them to a second page of the form that asked them some more questions. And I saw a direct drop off in the number of people who filled that out, but an increase in the quality of the leads that we got through that form. So sometimes I think you almost have to find that balance for what your type of business is on. Sometimes if you make it too easy, you just attract what we call in the United States the tire kickers, the people who are only interested in like getting some information, but they're never going to actually move forward. So I don't know if you've ever run into something like that where you've tried to make a form more difficult just to make sure that the leads that you're getting are the value
Oh
and the
yeah,
quality that you're looking for.
that's a whole different story. But yeah, I feel you. Yeah, we encountered that. Usually, it's not the case. Usually, the companies are glad people can finish the process. So I would say that forms that are too easy to go through are much more rare, but it
Mm.
can be the case. And then that's the matter of good targeting. You want to target the right people. But that's a whole different story. You need to create a good target groups, good personas, and use good triggers for your communication to take these people to act. So you have just quality over quantity.
So you work for MindWorks. Tell me a little
Mhm.
bit about what MindWorks does and how you work with the clients you work with.
Oh yeah, we are consultancy. What we do is we are experts in consumer psychology and behavioral economics and applied behavioral economics. What that means, we advise our clients what to say and how to say it so that it works, to put it simply, but to not make it too easy for you. What we do is basically we understand why people do what they do, what drives their behavior, what holds them back. And that's really what you need to work with when you have a clients of any sort. You need to understand their behavior. You need to understand what they think, how do they feel, and how you can work with it to, for example, drive your sales or conversions, or basically do anything that you want them to do. So yeah, we are expert in that in consumer psychology, and we use this knowledge to to help companies to drive more sales, drive more conversions, just simply to be more persuasive, for example, but also to be much more clear in their communications, so the clients actually know what they're required to do. Then it's much more clearer to the customers what the company is even offering and stuff like that. So yeah, what we do, we are making their communication much more persuasive. And also, as I mentioned the targeting of the clients. Yeah, so we are helping also with the targeting of the clients. We are helping with creating better triggers for the communication and stuff like that. So yeah, I would put it in those words.
All right. Now, when we chatted before, Roman, you referenced the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. How has this book influenced your own thinking and your consulting?
Oh yeah, this book has influenced basically my whole life, because that was like my introduction to behavioral economics quite some time before I joined MindWorks, actually. So because of this book, I actually wanted to become a scientist and do some research in this area. And to be clear, a lot of the knowledge in this book is a bit too old. There's no newer stuff out there. But I really recommend this book for anyone who wants to gain a better understanding of how people think, what drives their behavior, and what mistakes they do in their thinking, in their reasoning. Yeah, and that book's really puts some direction to my life. So yeah, I wanted to become a scientist, and as I mentioned, I end up as a consultant, and now I can apply this knowledge of Kahneman in practice.
That's awesome. I read that book a long time ago, and I think it's time for me to go back and give it another read. So you mentioned that some of the stuff might be out of date or just has been dated. Is there a book right now that you've read in the past few years that you would recommend, something on the same level?
There are a lot of great books. What I can recommend is, and these, I can recommend a lot of them, but these are not like some
Consumer fear?
new breakthroughs or something like that. But if somebody really wants to understand the behavioral economics, I often recommend books of Daniel Ariely. Daniel Ariely have a great book. Actually, my colleague Mate, who founded MindWorks, founded it because one of the books of Daniel Ariely, Predictably Irrational. I highly recommend that, and it's a really great introduction to this. Right now, I specialize in copywriting, so I'm trying to put all of this knowledge into words to create a persuasive communication. So right now I'm reading more of copywriting stuff, which is a bit more advanced, but I would highly recommend to go through some Daniel Ariely stuff, and you certainly won't regret that. Awesome. Also, the good basic for behavioral economics is Robert Cialdini's Influence, which is also not the newest book, but it's really good.
Yeah, and he actually has just kind of come out again recently. I see him everywhere online recently, and he's been putting on webinars, so he seems to be having a resurgence as well. Roman, this has been great. I want to thank you for your time and the resources you mentioned. If people want to learn more about you or learn more about MindWorks, where can we send them online?
Yeah, you can check our website. You can go to mindworks.net. You can go to our LinkedIn. You can find me on our LinkedIn. I'm sure you will find us when you Google MindWorks. The first thing you will see will be our company. So yeah, check that out.
Awesome. And we'll also put those links in the show notes. Roman, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Rich. It was great.
For all the tips and ideas that Roman shared with us, for a full transcript or just the key takeaways, head on over to our website at theagentsofchange.com/523. And while you're there, don't forget to pre-register for the Agents of Change Digital Marketing Summit coming this April 24th, 25th, and 26th, 2024. We'd love to see you there. We've got more great topics, more great speakers coming to the podcast, all lined up. Really good stuff that's going to help you grow your business. So make sure that you are subscribed at your favorite podcasting platform. And I'll talk to you again in 7.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.